your family. The giant Purple Museum is open every day, Wednesday through Sunday. Reservations are required at cdm.org. That's cdm.org. जब हमारे परिवार के बुजुर्गों की सेहत और देखभाल की बात होती है तो घर पर इन होम केयर वाला ऑप्शन सबसे बढ़िया है। अनलॉक का पेस प्रोग्राम एक ऐसा कन्वीनियंट एंड पर्सनलाइज्ड ऑप्शन है जिसके जरिए हमारे बुजुर्ग घर पर हमारे साथ रहकर यही देखभाल और सेवा का लाभ उठा सकते हैं। अब चाहे वो घर पर रहे या अनलॉक वाले पेस सेंटर में आए, उनको वही डेडिकेटेड एंड प्रोफेशनल केयर मिलेगी। अनलॉक ने बुजुर्गों की सेहत को अपना प्रायोरिटी बना लिया है। और जानने के लिए 1855-308-0195 पे कॉल करें। That's 1855-308-0195.
Top of the morning, Bay, with Good Morning Bay.
Get to know about the traffic on your way and what's news around the world today.
Some wisdom skills along the way.
Oh, and a song to hum along with and sway.
Get your perfect entertaining start to the day.
At 9 a.m. every weekday morning with
Mahima's
Good Morning Bay.
Good morning, Bay.
आप सभी लोगों को हमारी तरफ से एक प्यार भरा नमस्ते,
नमस्कार,
वणक्कम,
खुशामदीद,
अस्सलाम वालेकुम,
सत श्री अकाल,
मी कंदरिकी वंदनमु,
जय स्वामी नारायण,
जय श्री कृष्ण,
जय जिनेंद्र।
हमारे इस्माइली भाई बंधुओं को बोल दे याली मदद,
मलाली मदद बोलते सारे फीजे मतलब नीसा बोला बरजन। हम आ गए हैं आपके प्यारे महिमा के द्वारे। मैं सिर्फ फालतू बाबा
and of course myself फालतू रानी लेकर आपके लिए एक और ड्राइव टाइम शो that's going to make it totally exciting and totally मस्तानी बंद जानी।
To the Bajan, of course, right now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a traffic update जो है रास्ते का हाल आपको हम देते हैं total सस्ते में Bajan and this सस्ते का हाल।
It's time for the Bandu traffic update. Call us from wherever you are at 408-911.
Happening on the roads, or you want to share with us what's happening on the roads, please do so by giving us a call here on 408-912-2479.
It's time for the Bandu traffic update. Call us from wherever you are at 408-912-2479.
Alright, Banjan, let's see quickly what's happening out there on the freeways, Banjan. In fact, the whole bay are looking kind of smooth, no traffic anywhere. It's like, one of those days of COVID where there's not much of traffic around. No, nothing at all, Banjan, except for a few somewhere in Concord. I think hame koi uska matlab nahi hai, Banjan, because even towards northern part of it, like towards Golden Gate, Vista Point, there actually is a little bit of traffic hazard reported. Otherwise, everything else within the bay area, the 880, the 280, the 680, 101, 85, everything actually burns in. 84 also. It's pretty much smooth right now. Probably because already it's close to 10 o'clock. So that was a traffic update. Weather-wise, if you look at it, weather-wise, it's going to be kind of it's not a very bad weather, but it's going to be in the upper 85. So the beach side, the water side part of course, going to be 60s. It's going to be cold. If you're planning to make a visit towards the beach, so probably layer up is what I would advise you guys. But of course, it's a nice, cool weather for everybody to go and enjoy a nice walk on the beach. But right now, it's time for us to go take a look at what's happening with the news. Faldwani, do you have the news for our bandhus right now?
Yes, absolutely. Here are the news headlines and news in brief from across the United States. Punjab. Heavy rains lashed Texas and Louisiana on Tuesday as Hurricane Nicholas weakened into a tropical storm, bringing the threat of widespread floods and power outages as it swept down the U.S. Gulf Coast. It is the second major storm to threaten the region in recent weeks after Hurricane Ida killed more than 24 people in August and devastated communities in Louisiana near New Orleans. Nicholas is expected to weaken further and become a depression by Wednesday, the National Hurricane Center said. It could still cause life-threatening flash floods across the Deep South in the next couple of days, the agency has warned. Californians are going to be deciding the governor's fate in the Republican-backed recall. California voters will decide on Tuesday whether to recall Governor Gavin Newsom in a special election that will test the power of the Republican Party, still dominated by former President Donald Trump in a deeply Democratic state. Newsom, who's a first-term governor and former lieutenant governor and San Francisco mayor, is fighting for his political future in only the second recall election for governor in state history history despite 55 attempts. The campaign to oust Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom began with a conservative Republican group and gained steam during the pandemic. Conservatives, angered by Newsom's liberal policies on LGBTQ rights, immigration, and crime, also became infuriated by his decision to close schools and require masks and vaccinations against COVID-19. The removal of Newsom, a popular figure in one of the most liberal U.S. states, would likely embolden Republicans and set off alarms among Democrats coming just over a year before the 2022 elections that will decide control of Congress. Recall could also mean the end of Newsom's political ambitions, widely believed to include possible runs for the U.S. Senate or even the U.S. presidency. The latest public opinion polls showed Newsom with strong support in a survey released on Friday by the Institute of Governmental Studies. At UC Berkeley, 60.1% of the voters were likely to say that they favored retaining Governor Newsom, and 38.5% opposed him staying in office. Democrats have returned twice as many ballots as Republicans so far in a 4-week early voting period. State data has showed about 38% of voters have already submitted their ballots. Today is the last day, Banajan. Today is election day, so please make sure that you take your ballots in. Mail-in ballots were sent out to every single person. Please take it to a voting center. Look it up online. You can find a voting center. Typically, libraries and also your city hall would have a voting drop-off booth, or you can actually have a voting center where you can go and turn it in. If you did not receive a ballot or you've lost your mail-in ballot, please do go ahead and ask them for a provisional ballot. They do give you the ballot when you go in there. Please take your identification along with you. U.S. ex-presidents Bush, Clinton, Obama band together to aid Afghan refugees. The three former U.S. presidents have banded together behind a new group aimed at supporting refugees from Afghanistan settling in the United States following the recent American withdrawal ending 20 years of war. The former leaders and their wives will serve as part of Welcome U.S., a coalition of advocacy groups, U.S. businesses, and other leaders. It launched on Tuesday with a website that will be, quote, a single point of entry to make it easier for Americans to donate, host a refugee family through the home rental app Airbnb, or find other ways to help. John Bridgeland, an official in former President George W. Bush's administration and co-chair of the effort, said at a media event. Tens of thousands of Afghans have already arrived in the United States as part of a U.S. evacuation. Many of them would have been at risk had they remained under the Taliban after their work with U.S. and allied troops or with American and international agencies. In local news, Bandhujan, we know, of course, we are in California and we are actually going through the gubernatorial recall election today. What are certain things that you need to look out for? NBC Bay Area actually did a breakdown as to what are the 5 things to look out for in this particular election. California actually is a rough place to be Republican. Can the GOP broaden its tent is what this election is going to tell us. The party hasn't won a statewide election since 2006, and Democrats have a legislative supermajority. Yet 2020 was a relatively good year for the Republicans or the GOP, as they won several congressional swing seats in Southern and Central California. So some analysts have been seeing signs that polling among Latinos, traditionally a key Democratic constituency in California, may have soured on Newsom, is what they're saying. And then, what should you know about Larry Elder, a long-time conservative talk show radio host? Elder has become the unlikely face of the recall movement. He's the top polling Republican among those vying to replace Newsom, and the governor's team has been happy to keep the sometimes bombastic Elder in the spotlight, highlighting his support for Trump and opposition to vaccine mandates and also opposition to abortion rights. Elder, who is black, may be able to draw more young voters voters of different backgrounds into the GOP, but several Republicans think that he is going to alienate plenty of other voters. When will we know what happened? California's recalls are different from other elections in other states, and so is the way the California state counts its ballots. The state allows any ballot to count as long as it's postmarked by today, that is election day, and received within 7 days. So new votes are tallied late into the week and sometimes into the following week. The count itself is notoriously slow and can take more than a month before it's finalized. What will we learn about the midterms is the final thing that you would get to know. California likely, this recall is most different from other elections and definitely unlike the House and Senate elections in the coming next year. Republicans are hoping to win back Congress, as the opposition party often does in a midterm. The results of a recall election in one of the country's most democratic states may not be the best way to figure out if that is going to happen. Still, California contains many congressional swing districts, particularly in Orange County and Central Valley. Their performance in the recall may offer a hint of whether Democrats remain politically engaged in the post-Trump era and whether the GOP can win back voters who were turned off by Trump. So those are main things that we would need to look out for in this particular gubernatorial election. And in other local news, Manajan, Apple, the Cupertino-based company, is going to be announcing new iPhones, Apple Watch and AirPods today. They're holding their annual iPhone launch event today. Apple's hype-filled, expensively produced fall launches are a signature of the company going back over a decade. And of course, they garner worldwide media attention, millions of viewers on YouTube and Apple's website, and set the stage for a holiday season marketing blitz when Apple's sales are the highest. All of the Apple's product segments have been on a tear this year as people work from home. Last quarter, iPhone revenue was up 50% year over year, while Mac and iPad revenues were up 16% and 12% respectively. Its other products business, which includes devices like watches and AirPods, was up 40% last year. And finally, Banajan, Stanford University has been, ranked as one of the best colleges or universities in the entire country on Monday. And among other institutions, Stanford was ranked number 6 in the best universities of 2022, according to the US News and World Report. Those were the news from across the United States, and here locally in the Bay Area, we will bring you world news shortly, right after this Ganika Kida.
All right, but it's just time for our Ganika Kida for you guys. And answer Ganika Kida is a nice song I'll land up for you guys from the particular movie Sanju Bandhujan. Agar aapne Sanju movie dekha nahi, actually it's a biopic, should I say, inspired by somebody's life, and that's Sanju Baba. Here's a song for you guys in the voice of Sukhwinder Paji. Music by Vikram Montrose, lyrics by Shekhar Astitwa.
घायल परिंदा है तू, दिखला दे जिंदा है तू, बाकी है तुझ में हौसला। तेरे जुनू के आगे अंबर पनाहे मांगे, कर डाल तू जो फैसला।
रूठी तकदीरें तो क्या, टूटी शमशीरें तो क्या, टूटी शमशीरों से ही हो। कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदिया, हर मैदान फतेह।
कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदिया, हर मैदान फतेह।
After I mentioned the female voice she had along with Sukhwinder Paji was Shreya Ghoshaal's voice. I don't know. She's not come back after a particular birth of a baby, right?
She has, right? She sang something recently. I forgot what was the song that we heard in.
Really?
Is
She
she the
done
one?
something? Oh, I didn't know that.
We saw a movie recently, right? Which was she had like a hit
I
song.
did not.
Yeah,
Probably
of course.
Shesha. Was it Shesha?
No, no, no. It was in that movie that Kriti Sanon movie. What was
I have
it
not seen
called?
the Kriti Sanon movie. I thought it was
Mimi. Yeah,
Mimi. I have
that
not
song
seen Mimi
is
also.
yeah.
Very Banjan. That's fine, Faldwani, but I think I don't know. I just felt like after she went into the maternity leave part of it, she never came back.
Well, there's a lot of other singers too who are doing really well.
That's
so.
true. Now they have to. Like, the T-Series have probably signed up a contract with a new singer from South India.
Who?
That person who won the not won. She was runner-up of the regular American Idol, Indian Idol, right? Probably. I don't know. But anyway, Faldwani, but right now it's time for us to go take a look at the news around the world. How about that?
Absolutely. So let's go on over and let's talk about the COVID-19 cases that are causing a huge uproar in China.
Forget China. You know, Russia. Did you hear about what happened to Putin?
No.
Putin's aide actually got a virus, so got contracted the virus. So he has gone into self-quarantine.
Okay.
Isn't that awesome? That shows responsibility.
Well, either ways, a new local COVID-19 infections more than doubled in China's southeastern province of Fujian. Health authorities said on Tuesday, prompting officials to quickly roll out measures, including travel restrictions to halt the spread of the virus. The National Health Commission said 59 new locally transmitted cases were reported for September 13th. Up from 22 infections a day earlier. All of them were in Fujian, a province bordered by Zhejiang to the north and Guangdong to the south. In just 4 days, a total of 102 community infections have been reported in 3 Fujian cities, including Xiamen, a tourist and transport hub with a population of 5 million people. These infections come ahead of a week-long national holiday starting on October 1st, which is a major tourist season, is what they're saying. Speaking of China, Banajan, the Chinese ambassador to Britain has been banned from attending an event in the country's parliament because Beijing imposed sanctions on lawmakers who highlighted human rights abuses in Xinjiang. Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House of Commons, and John McFall, the Speaker of the House of Lords, stepped in to prevent Zheng Ziguang from speaking at an event in Parliament. The speakers of both houses are in agreement that this particular APPG China meeting should take place elsewhere, considering the current sanctions against members, said a spokesperson for the Speaker of the House of Lords. In Germany, the elections have taken place. Germany's federal election is too close to call as the number of still undecided voters hits a record high less than 2 weeks before the poll, in which a center-right Chancellor Angela Merkel is not seeking a fifth term, a survey showed on Tuesday. The survey by Allensbach Research Institute for the conservative newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung found that only 60% of voters who are determined to participate in the election have yet decided which party they are going to support. This means that 40% of their voters are still undecided. In news about the Taliban, the Taliban have denied that one of their top leaders has been killed in a shootout with rivals following rumors about internal splits in the movement nearly a month after its lightning victory over the Western-backed government in Kabul. Sulail Shaheen, a Taliban spokesman, said Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, a former head of the Taliban political office who was named deputy prime minister last week, issued a voice message rejecting claims that he had been killed or injured in a clash. He says it's lies and totally baseless, Shaheen said in a message on Twitter. The Taliban has also released video footage purportedly showing Baradar at meetings in the southern city of Kandahar, but news sources in the international world have not been able to confirm how authentic that is.
You know, it's such an irony, right? So, organization or political organization like Taliban, which specialized in making videos about, killing people, now they show people alive.
Yeah.
It must have been a really hard task for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what the Taliban is doing, the Taliban has brought back something called the Virtue and Vice Ministry, which will implement Islamic laws.
Oh, that's the worst thing they can do.
Right?
Yeah, when you start ruling with moral and virtue and everything, right, you can never find a ground for you to stand on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the people right now.
Yeah. Thousands of Afghans protested against the Taliban in the southern city of Kandahar on Tuesday after residents were asked to vacate a residential army colony. Protesters gathered in front of the governor's house in Kandahar after around 3,000 families were asked to leave the colony, according to the former government official who witnessed the crowds. Meanwhile, the Taliban have, again, as I mentioned, denied that Mullah Baradar has been killed. How is that playing out in terms of Russia, India, and everything? They're saying that China and Pakistan seem to be staring at a trilateral challenge as they push for influence in a war-ravaged Afghanistan. A senior Gulf Arab official said on Monday that if there was to be a geopolitical struggle over Afghanistan, it would be between China and Pakistan on the one hand and Russia, Iran, and India on the other. The official told Reuters that US, which withdrew its troops from Afghanistan last month, would not be part of the struggle. The tug of war, China and Pakistan have been at the forefront of the geopolitical power play in Afghanistan ever since gun-toting Taliban militants stormed their way to power in Kabul. While Pakistan's ISI is known to have nurtured the Taliban since long, China is eyeing Afghanistan's rich mineral resources and wants to extend its multi-billion-dollar Belt and Road project into the country. And also, Banajan, in India, the US is actually now saying, the Biden administration is saying that they will review their US ties with Pakistan in light of Islamabad's support for the Taliban terrorists while professing to help Washington in Afghanistan. The country's top diplomat told the US Congress on Monday. Amid considerable disquiet among lawmakers and US commentary, over Pakistan's duplicity in Afghanistan, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken acknowledged at a congressional hearing that Islamabad had played a dodgy role that involved hedging its bets constantly about the future of Afghanistan. And in light of this, the United States would reassess its ties to formulate what role Pakistan needs to play in that particular region. And in other news from Delhi, Banajan, Delhi police have busted a Pakistan organized terror module and 2 terrorists have been arrested. The Delhi police's special cell did this. Deputy Commissioner of Police Pramod Singh Kushwaha said Pakistan organized terror module has been busted. 2 Pakistani trained terrorists have been arrested at this particular point in time. And there was, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the rape of a 32-year-old woman, a brutal rape and murder of a 32-year-old woman in Sakinaka in Mumbai. In wake of that, the Mumbai police have announced the formation of a special squad to deter sexual harassment of women in public spaces. It's called the Nirbhaya Squad and is meant to create fear in the minds of criminals and inspire respect for women, said an internal circular for the force signed by Police Commissioner Hemant Nagrale. The police have also tied up with Empower, an organization working in the mental health space for counseling victims of sexual assault and child sexual abuse, as well as juvenile delinquents. The Nirbhaya Squad will be formed at every police station and will comprise of a woman officer and 2 constables, at least one of them being a woman, besides a driver. They will be assigned a mobile patrolling vehicle, and the work of all such Nirbhaya squads will be monitored at the regional level by a female assistant commissioner who will be a nodal officer. The squad will undergo a 2-day training, and one of their responsibilities would be to gather intelligence in areas where women's hostels, shelters, children's homes, orphanages are located. Hotspots for crime against women should be identified, and a patrolling pattern should be fixed, covering areas such as universities, playgrounds, cinema halls, gardens, malls, marketplaces, etc., the circular said. Nirbhaya boxes will be put up at schools and colleges where girls can post their complaints to the squad to address them. So this is interesting, right, Aldo Baba? And it's really wonderful that they're actually doing this finally.
I thought they already had it, right? I thought in Tamil Nadu, didn't they have this thing where they actually, well, no, Tamil Nadu population is such, right? They would not ask questions, they hit the...
Yeah. Well, if they're doing this in Bombay, I hope the country follows suit, and we will know what exactly is going to happen.
Yep.
And some good news coming out from India in a bid to ease inter-country adoptions. The Central Adoption Resource Authority has framed regulations under the Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act on the direction of the Union government, an official said on Tuesday. So right now they're making it easier for people to internationally adopt children from India. So you can get more information about this and how exactly, if you are an overseas citizen of India or if you're an NRI, how you can actually get an NOC and get the adoption process fast-tracked. You can find out more about that from MediaMahima.com. That's all we have time for on this morning's Good Morning Bay. Here is our final iteration of the Gane Ka Kira. We'll be back tonight live at 5 on the Pam Pam Show. Till then, have a terrific Tuesday.
मैदान फतेह हर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदेया हर मैदान फतेह
कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान फतेह बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह कर हर मैदान
Hi, this is Anushka Sharma. You're listening to me on Radio Day Hotties with Altu Baba and Faltu Rani, where entertainment keeps getting hotter.